Welcome back. Can we run MicroPython on the BrainPad? Let's talk about that. In the past, our products were primarily used with .NET Micro Framework. Now we want to change that. We want to give you the option to run any software you like on our products. We're actually going to help you to do that. We're giving you all the options. For example, MicroPython is a newer option that's been on the market now. It's an open source library, and it's a subset of Python, and it runs on small microcontrollers. What's nice about MicroPython is that the fact that you can connect to a product running MicroPython, for example, using a serial port, and there is a command line where you can type in the commands and your board just run them. There's no compiler, there's no IDE. And the MicroPython also has another really cool feature where it gives you a virtual drive. Through this virtual drive, your Python code can sit on there, so you can modify your script right on there, and the board will interpret it and run it. There's no need for compilers to go in the middle. Now, to run MicroPython on a specific product, it has to be ported, just like TinyCLR OS or any other operating system for that matter. Now, looking at MicroPython, there was already a port for Nucleo, for STM Nucleo board that's hosting the STM32F401 processor. That is the exact same processor running on the BrainPad. So I figured, well, let's put that on the BrainPad and see what happens. It might just work. And it did. So to do that, the first step you need is to go on micropython.org website, go under downloads. And under there, there's the other downloads. And under the other downloads, we have the Nucleo DFU file. This is the file that's used by the ST bootloader to deploy over USB. Now, to deploy the file, this is done exactly the same way you would deploy the BrainPad bootloader. So if you know how to do that, you already know how to deploy this file. And this is the step you need. If you loaded MicroPython and you need to go back to TinyCLR, of course you can do that. Just when you're done, you need to redeploy the GHI loader version 2 on the BrainPad, and you can still run TinyCLR again. So go ahead, give it a try anyway, just to get a feel of what MicroPython is about. The steps are included in our documentation under the BrainPad. And also, if you go under hardware loaders, the STM loader, under the STM loader, it talks about the DFU file and how to create a DFU file and how to upload a DFU file. In this case, you already have the DFU file. You don't need to create it. Once you install the ST tools, you can go and find there's a tool called DFU SE Demo. That is the tool that comes from ST. You would use that to deploy to any STM32 product. Connect your USB cable, and then on the BrainPad, you need to put the BrainPad in the DFE mode, and that's done by pressing, there is a boot 0 button, and there is a reset button. You would hold boot down, press and release reset while keep holding boot, and now you can release the boot button. Now, you're under the DFU SE demo program, the ST device will show up, the chip, the software will see the chip, so you know it's connected. And from here, there is a choose button where you choose the file that you want to upgrade. You go through through your files, find the file that you have downloaded earlier, select that file, and click upgrade. Ask you for a confirmation, click yes. And it's deploying. The first step is erase. It's done erasing. Now it's deploying. Now, when deploying is done, your board now has the DFU file you loaded, which is MicroPython in this example. Close the ST tool. Now reset the board without pressing boot this time. And now it's executing the MicroPython software. Once the board runs, you will immediately your PC will go through like installing the drivers for the serial port. If you have Windows 10, this is automatic. You do not need any drivers. If you had any issues, just hop on the forum and we'll help you out with installing the drivers, or you can read more about that on the MicroPython website. So now I can see the virtual drive. I see like boot.py Python. So this is the boot file that has like some boot things needed for boot, and there is main.python. Main is where you would add your program. This is where, if you want to blink an LED, you would add it in there. I am not going to use that. I'm going to use the serial port to type in the lines of code that I want to get executed right on the BrainPad. So this is where I was saying earlier, this is nice because you really don't need to install any IDE, nothing really. It's like the compiler, everything, interpreter, that's all built in. So I'm going to use, you need a terminal software. I'm going to use TerraTerm. And then from TerraTerm, you would have to select the appropriate serial port that is tied into your device. If you're not sure which one it is, go to Device Manager. Under COM ports, you will see a list of COM ports. The one that show when you plug in the BrainPad running MicroPython, that's the one you need. So I'm going to select the one that's on my PC. And then I would see a prompt coming back saying MicroPython, the version number, etc. Now I can start typing in whatever I need. Now the first thing I would need to type is, if you know Python, then this will be obvious to you. If not, if you come from, like, let's say C# world, you need to import a library, like using on C#. So the first thing you do is import pyb. This is, you're importing the PyBoard library. So you can use that. So you would import that. Next, I want to define a pin. And in this example, I'm going to use the blue element on this light bulb. So this is RGB LED. It's red, green, and blue. I'm going to use the blue on it. And if I look at the schematic, the BrainPad schematic, I can see that this pin is connected to C6. So on the processor, the blue LED is connected to pin C6. So the next line would be, we need to give a name to the variable. Let's name it blue. So blue, I have it right here. I'm just going to copy paste it. So blue equal pyb.pin. This is how you instantiate a pin. And then you need to tell it which pin on the CPU. It's C6. And you need to tell it if this pin is an output or an input. This looks very familiar to everything else. Enter. No errors. Good. So now we have a pin called blue, and I can write value to that pin. That's true or false. So let's try true. And the blue LED came on. And let's try false. And the blue LED is off. Very easy. Now the next step would be to have a BrainPad class. You would import BrainPad, and then you would have all the BrainPad functionality, like BrainPad, dot, lightbulb, etc. All these things will be transferred into Python. When that will happen, this is on the to-do list, but we are inviting you to help us out. If you like Python and you want to see more Python on the BrainPad and other products for that matter from GHI Electronics, let us know. We'd love to send you a BrainPad. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week.